Attorneys for those officers believe that they cannot get a fair trial in the city. Tonight, an attorney who's been following the case says their push to move it out actually got some help from an unexpected source this week. ABC 2 News' Christian Schaefer joins us now with more on that story tonight.
Well, you know, Kelly, today the city's Board of Estimates approved that surprise $6.4 million settlement, which the city plans to pay the family of Freddie Gray. Now, the settlement is not supposed to have any impact on what happens in those criminal trials against the 6 officers, but it just might impact where those trials happen. To move the 6 trials out of Baltimore City, attorneys for the 6 officers charged in the death of Freddie Gray do not have to show there's been overwhelming publicity in the case. That's a given. Instead, they have to make the case to Judge Barry Williams that the publicity has affected the citizens of Baltimore who could be called to serve as jury members.
The test as well is not that there's just negative publicity. The test is that has that negative publicity so affected the potential jurors that the court cannot impanel a fair and impartial jury.
He says that's an easy argument for the defense to make. The riots and the curfew that came after had a direct impact on just about every city resident.
We'd be hard-pressed to find a case in our history where the citizens of Baltimore City have each been adversely affected.
And now the news of a settlement between the city and the family of Freddie Gray. Instead of pursuing a massive lawsuit in federal court, the family has agreed to accept $6.4 million from the city.
By settling this case, it not only brings closure for the family and for the larger community, it also removes that liability for the officers.
The family's attorney, Billy Murphy, said he hopes the settlement will have a, quote, calming effect on the city, regardless of what happens in the criminal trials. And he said it's not supposed to be a factor in what happens in them.
The settlement expressly says that this does not have any bearing on whether these officers are guilty or innocent.
But $6.4 million going not to rec centers, parks, or bike trails, instead to the family of Freddie Gray. Another impact of the Freddie Gray case Baltimore City residents might have a hard time ignoring.
You're going to have jurors, prospective jurors, that undoubtedly will equate this very high settlement amount with the city's acknowledgement that the officers committed wrongdoing.
The other part of that agreement is that the city police body camera program will begin next month. That is slightly earlier than the original plan. Officers in the Western District, where Freddie Gray died, will start wearing body cameras. Christian Schaefer, ABC 2 News.